Is it hard to make friends in a foreign country? That's a question I get asked a lot, and the answer is not a simple yes or no. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 reasons people might struggle to make friends while living abroad. Now, if you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you have not yet, consider doing so and clicking that notification bell so that each time I upload a video about living abroad, living in France, or finding the confidence and courage to live life on your terms, you will be notified. My name is Patricia Brooks, and back in 2018, I left the United States and moved to the south of France. And it has been an exhilarating experience filled with ups and downs. And I have had to figure out how to make acquaintances and friends living in a foreign country. So today I wanted to share with you 5 things that might be holding you back, or that hold people who do move abroad back from finding the connection they so seek. All right. And I'm going to start with number 1, and that is trying too hard to fit in, trying too hard to be liked. And this is something that a friend of mine who recently moved to Paris is experiencing. I spoke with her about a month ago, and she said that she was really excited to be here in France, especially since she's half French. She's never lived in France before. She's fluent in French. She has an American accent when she speaks French, and she's just really trying so hard to fit in and be French. And for her, that's what she wants, because she is half French. But the fact that she's lived outside of France all of her life, she's really basically a foreigner. And so trying really hard to fit in does not necessarily come across as being authentic. Now I want to ask you this question. Have you ever been around somebody who was trying hard to be liked? How did that feel? Did it make you want to become closer to them, or did it make you a little bit suspicious and wonder, well, why are they acting that way? Yeah, comment below. So trying too hard can be a problem, right? Because then people don't really know who you are and they don't want to get to know you. Being a foreigner has its pros and its cons. A pro of it is, oh, you're different from me. I want to learn about you and your culture. And so that is a way to open a conversation. It has its cons because some people don't necessarily care to have open arms for foreigners. And you'll find who those people are, and you'll gravitate to the people who find you more interesting because you're different. So that's number 1. Number 2 has to do with not knowing the language. Now, if you're moving to a country that speaks a foreign language and you don't attempt to learn the language, that could be challenging for you to make friends. Now, certainly there may be expat communities that you can make acquaintances with and even make friends with. But if you're looking to have friends and acquaintances in all walks of life, expat and native born, then learning the language is something that I highly recommend. And I know that learning a language might feel hard, but in the long run, it is so worth it to be able to communicate and connect. And you may say, oh, well, my language skills aren't so good, so that causes me to be a little bit more shy when it comes to speaking up or starting a conversation. I've been there. And I have a friend who is a foreign language teacher at a university in the United States. And I actually met her here in my village. And when I told her that was my reason for not really knowing as many people as she knew, because she would come here, every summer, she's like, oh, that's no excuse. That helps you. When you start the conversation, you let them know up front, hey, you're practicing your French, and they're going to give you grace, right? If you don't understand something, let them know. And that can help it can be a conversation starter. So don't use that as an excuse not to put yourself out there. Now, number 3 is connected to number 2 and what I just said, and that is not going out and doing things, not putting yourself out there where you will have an opportunity to meet people. And as someone who has introvert tendencies, I understand this so much, because being at home, in my comfort zone felt more comfortable than going out and being around people I didn't know and potentially being in a situation where I didn't understand. But what is important here is to ask yourself, why are you living in this foreign country? Why did you move here? Was it to sit in your apartment all alone? Or was it to get out and do things and meet new people and enjoy the culture, right? And if it's the latter, then you will need to find ways to get yourself out of that comfort zone. This was not a problem for me initially. When I first moved here in 2018, I knew that I was going to have to make a big effort to get out of my comfort zone and do things. I went to meetups and on va sortir events, and little by little, I made acquaintances. Now, the pandemic definitely threw a wrench in the works for me because with the lockdowns, I went inward, as someone with introvert tendencies, that's easy to do. And then to get out of that after things started opening up, that felt hard. And I recognized that, I was spending way too much time in my apartment alone, working. And so about 3 months ago, I set the intention that I was going to get out and do things. And the intention was just to get out and do things. It wasn't to start a conversation or anything. And so I went to a tour around my village, and that was great because it helped me to, once again, know that my French comprehension skills were getting better and better. I didn't speak to anybody, but I was out and about. A few days later, I went to talk about glass making, and that was really interesting. And I engaged with the person who at the door, but nobody else. And so I felt like, I should be doing more. But something interesting really happened the following week. I just started meeting people and talking to people and making acquaintances. And some of those acquaintances I exchanged numbers with. And we have since done things together. And this continues to this day. Just yesterday on my morning walk, I'm walking, my normal routine path. And this woman who I've never seen before says, "Oh, are you the American?" And I said, "Yes." And she's like, "Oh, yes. Patricia told me about you." And she told me her story. We exchanged numbers. And now I have another acquaintance to have coffee with to get to know better, who could potentially become a friend. And it's like magic. I set the intention that I was going to put myself out there more. And, little by little, these opportunities just showed up for me. And now I've been, every week I've been going someplace with someone and not doing things alone anymore. And it feels really good. In fact, a friend of mine said, "Oh, you are quite the social butterfly right now." And I was like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll own that, because being a social butterfly is never anything anybody has ever told me before, but it feels pretty good. So the problem here is not getting out of your comfort zone, staying in your apartment alone, right? So those are 3 things that can cause people to struggle making acquaintances and friendships while living abroad. Can you relate to any of those? Comment below. So on to number 4, and that is not following through. So what do I mean by that, right? So you get out and about and things start opening up for you. People start saying, "Oh yeah, let's get together. Let's do this or let's do that." You exchange numbers. A couple days go by, you don't hear from them, and you don't reach out to them. A week goes by, 2 weeks, a month, and all of a sudden, that connection that you had is really weak because you haven't followed through. And you may be the one to have to take the lead, to reach out, to send a text message, say, "Hey, I want to take you up on that coffee, right? Let's get to know each other a little bit better." And you might need to take the lead for a couple of times in the beginning until they get to know you. And then they'll start to reciprocate or not. And if they don't, then maybe it's just an acquaintance and it's not going to be a deep friendship, but maybe they will, right? But you have to foster that relationship. You have to take steps to build that relationship. And you can't expect the other person to do it, because sometimes if they are native and they have their own set of friends, it's not a top priority for them to, meet somebody new. But for you, it is. And so you may have to take the lead a few times. And finally, the fifth thing that people may be doing that is impeding their ability to develop relationships living abroad, that is not allowing enough time for the relationships to develop. I know that it takes time and energy to get to know people, to go from being an acquaintance, somebody you just met, to somebody who is a lifelong friend. That takes time. That takes meeting up over and over and over again until you get to that level where there is a deep trust and appreciation for the other person. So not giving relationships enough time to develop and blossom. And this goes along with, not necessarily taking that first step. And so then things fall off by the wayside. But it also means that when you move to a foreign country, you need to set the expectation that it may take longer than you would like for you to develop a network of people who you call your people. It might not, but it might. And if it does, allow yourself that time for that to develop. Do the steps, take those right actions, but allow the time for that to develop. And so those are 5 things that people who may be struggling with making friends in a foreign country might be doing inadvertently that is causing them to struggle. Can you relate to any of that? Comment below. Now, if you are considering making a move abroad, but feel a little bit hesitant because maybe you are concerned that you're going to move someplace and know nobody and make no friends, or maybe it's a matter of dealing with the uncertainty, or maybe it's a matter of, I just don't even know where to start. Well, then let's have a conversation so that you can share with me where you are, where you want to be, and what might be holding you back. And if potentially working with me might help you get there with more ease and flow. All right. Now, if you found this video helpful, insightful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others who you think would enjoy it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. I will see you again next time. Bye for now.